Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, professional bakers, esteemed colleagues, passionate educators, dedicated academics, and sourdough enthusiasts from every corner of the globe. I'm Carl, your host, the sourdough librarian, and it's an absolute honor to welcome you to this special live stream event as we celebrate a remarkable milestone, the 10th anniversary of our beloved sourdough library. Today we're making history by streaming simultaneously across multiple platforms. We stream on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, bringing together a global community of bread lovers like never before. In recognition of our international audience, we'll be repeating this live stream, not anymore because it is the last one of the day. We have covered all the time zones as we started this morning at 8:30 my time. It is now 9 o'clock in the evening. So we have a long day ahead, but nevertheless, our agenda is full of topics that promise to engage, educate, and inspire. We'll start with a grand celebration of our 10 years journey, reflecting on the milestones that have shaped us. We'll then dive right into the second part of our fascinating story of the sourdoughs from Xenofontos when we went to Finland to visit Father Damaskinos and pick up his samples up north. We'll also share the findings from our latest experiment involving 17 unique sourdoughs from our very own library. And of course, we'll take some time to answer your questions because this celebration is about our shared passion and collective wisdom. And in this hour, we are having Adrian Grenier from Earthspeed as our very special guest. And you can't miss our final movie on regenerative agriculture and the importance of this for helping our planet. So, passionate sourdough enthusiasts, wherever you are joining us from and whatever time it is in your region, get ready and settle in for an hour of enlightening conversation, heartwarming memories, and plenty of sourdough magic. Now, let's get this celebration started. We'll begin with the second part of our Greek adventure. In this episode, we journey north from the balmy climes of Greece to the cooler landscapes of Finland. Our destination is a special one, the home of Father Damaskinos we met earlier in Xenofontos, the monastery on Mount Athos. Father Damaskinos is beside a priest, a university lecturer in systematic theology, but also the keeper of an extraordinary sourdough starter. This particular sourdough is not just any bread starter. It's a rye sourdough with a historic that traces back to the Karelian refugees of the late 18th and early 19th century. A living piece of history. This sourdough embodies the resilience and adaptability of the Karelian people. We'll discover the story of this ancient sourdough, explore its origins, and learn about its journey through time. And Father Damaskinos will teach us how to bake a typical Finnish rye bread. So prepare to be captivated as we uncover another layer in our ongoing quest for sourdough. This isn't just a journey through different geographies. It's a voyage through time, culture, and the unbroken thread of a human resilience. So here is the quest for sourdough, the Karelian legacy. After Father Damaskinos invited me to pick up his sourdoughs, well, here I am, in Finland.
We first arrived in Helsinki, where I went on a quest to find out more about the tradition of rye breads in the Finnish culture. For this, I reached out to Heikki Mänä, a specialist on Scandinavian breads.
What makes Finnish rye bread or Finnish rye sourdough bread so special according to you?
You can't bake without sourdough. because the sourdough makes that the pentosands of rye flour, they build some structure to the rye bread. If you don't use sourdough, you get a pancake. Rye itself, it contains very many health-promoting components, these phytochemicals. It gives you longer satiety. You don't have to eat snacks so often. You don't get hungry so soon. In these Scandinavian countries, you have to be self-sufficient. And rye is growing very well here. In these circumstances, even when we have climate change, we don't have to export. We are not dependent on other countries' harvests.
What is the main benefit of using sourdough in rye bread?
I think it is the taste. And then you get more shelf-life. You get, let's say, about 30% more shelf-life by using sourdough than without sourdough. So if you want to have natural baking without additives, you use sourdough.
After learning more about the importance of rye in the culture, I wanted to try the different flavors and types of available rye bread, as well as visit some of the best bakeries in town. Our last stop was Tu Los Rieva. Father Damaskinos recommended this bakery in town, where they let me and the crew go all the way into the atelier, where they bake rye, wheat and oat breads. And they even showed us their sourdough, which they store in pre-measured packages for later ease of use.
This bread is not made with sourdough, it's only with milk and yeast. It's very sweet, very round flavor, but nothing beats a good sourdough bread.
We stayed overnight in Hämeenlinna, about 15 minutes away from Father Damaskinos' house and chapel, but now we are ready to make some rye bread.
Good morning, good morning.
And here we are, in the middle of the woods in Finland, ready to discover the secrets of Finnish rye.
There are basically two ways of preserving the sourdough. The traditional method is, when you use these wood vessels, is to leave the leftovers in the vessel and then melt them with water, and that becomes the starter.
When you're in Mount Athos, do you work the same way?
No, we never bake 100% rye bread. It's too tough for the Greeks. Now you add flour, don't add too much, and they should be quite runny.
We will now let the sourdough rise for a day before we can start making the bread.
When I was in Xenophontos, you triggered my curiosity and you had that rye sourdough. What can you tell me actually about that sourdough?
My father's side of my family are refugees, or as we call evacuees, from Karelia, which is an area nowadays divided between Finland and Russia. There were about 400,000 internal refugees in Finland that came from there, including my father's family. The most precious thing that they brought with them was the rye sourdough, because that was a very important part of their culture. Unfortunately, the rye sourdough in my father's family has been lost. A friend of mine who's an Orthodox priest had an old refugee sourdough in his family. It probably dates to somewhere in the beginning of 19th century, end of 18th century. So we nowadays bake with the same sourdough.
Well, if it can reassure you, in the library we will protect and offer a backup for as long as the sourdough library will exist.
It's a good thing generally. As we see, wars come suddenly and they also affects the traditions of baking. So now the starter has been here with the water. We make it into this really runny porridge. See a lot of these bubbles here, and
It's alive, eh?
it's alive and it smells.
It's very yogurty, very smooth, silky.
I usually like my dough really runny, so that I barely can grab it with my hands and do stuff, because that produces the best eating. What you want to do is add salt and then add flour. We make a sign of the cross with our hands, like this.
Just like in Xenophontos, the blessing of the dough is very important in the process of the bread making for the Orthodox Church.
Kiitetulkoon Jumalamme alati nyt ja aina ja kaikkisesta ja kaikkiseen. Aamen. Pyhä Jumala, pyhä väkevä, pyhä kuolematon, armahda meitä. Sielummen. Nyt ja aina ja iankaikkisesta iankaikkiseen. Aamen. Sen palkan sekä meitäkin armahtakoon hyvyydessä ja ihmisrakkaudessaan. So now we put it in a warm place to rise for 3 to 6 hours.
Father Damaskinos buys his flour directly from a miller. We're going to pick up the flour I will take back with me to Belgium and an extra treat for dinner tonight.
Bye bye, is that moi moi?
Moi moi, yeah.
And hello?
Moi.
Moi.
Oh, the dough is ready. Now we just need to make it into loaves of bread. It's quite soft, but let's see what happens. We try to make it into a little bit of pyramid shape, so it will smoothen out and become a round bread. And now we wait an hour or two.
While we wait for the bread to rise, Father Damaskinos teaches me how to make some Karelian specials. Karjalanpiraka, or unleavened rye pies, and vatrushkas made with the wheat sourdough from the cross, which are wheat and cardamom sweet buns filled with the traditional Finnish sour yogurt. The Karelian pies are often used to check the oven temperature before baking the rye bread.
Oh yeah, they look fine. So a bit of brown.
The smell is great.
And now the oven is ready to bake the bread.
So let's check the bread. That's yours. It ended up being nice. And the sound. Yeah. Top. Yeah, that sounds great.
That's the one. Yeah.
So now we cover them and they should be fine in a few hours.
The last thing we need to do is to take the sourdoughs back to Belgium. We will start with the Stavros sourdough. Voila. And then the other one, eh?
The rye one. Open.
You promised this morning we were going to make a lot of things. Can we have a quick overview of what we have been doing actually today?
So the first thing we did in the oven are the Karelian pies, which don't have any sourdough in them. Those you eat traditionally with this spread called egg butter. With the sourdough from Xenophontos of the cross, I baked this bread, which is a mixture of wheat, barley, oats and spelt. Last thing we baked in the oven are these sweet buns filled with sour yogurt. And of course we have the main star of the day, which is the rye bread.
The reason why I came.
Yes, and which turned out to be quite good actually. And we also have some freshly smoked salmon.
The flavor of the crust. It's very roasted, almost nutty.
And this has the perfect structure because the crust is supposed to be kind of dry and hard, but the inside is supposed to be a bit softer and richer.
This is probably the best rye bread that I have tasted. It's a nice ending of a day. We should maybe invite the hardworking people behind the scene to come and join us. Come on, guys. You did a good job today. Let's enjoy these delicious goods.
Hyvää ruokahalua Kallioreksi. Bon appétit.
Now, wasn't that inspiring? It is my pleasure to now introduce you to the celebratory portion of our event, making the 10th anniversary of this extraordinary sourdough library. In 2013, the Sourdough Library was founded with a mission that was as simple as it was ambitious: to preserve the biodiversity of sourdough, protect the heritage of baked goods with this unique leavening agent, and provide a backup for sourdough cultures from around the world. This non-profit initiative by Puratos was conceived as a contribution to the world of fermentation and fermentation technology. So fast forward a decade and we have grown to house an impressive collection of 146 samples from 30 countries. Our work has led us to discover 1,500 strains of lactic acid and yeasts. Lactic acid bacteria actually and yeast. We've embarked on numerous scientific studies, some of which are still ongoing, deepening our understanding of this ancient baking tradition. Our Quest for Sourdough website has become a hub for bakers worldwide, with over 2,800 potential candidates registered to contribute their unique sourdough starters to our growing collection. We've safeguarded sourdoughs with rich histories, from those tied to the Klondike Gold Rush to one blessed with a piece of the cross of Jesus Christ, and we've even preserved a sample from one of the last samurai, among many others that you can discover when visiting our virtual library. Our efforts have earned us global recognition, with features in the New York Times, various podcasts, TV shows, and radio station interviews. We've become a thought leader in sourdough and sourdough baking, bridging the gap between the academic world, the baking industry, artisan bakers, and home bakers. We have even begun the process to be recognized as part of the UNESCO World Heritage, meeting 3 of the necessary requirements. Looking towards the future, our mission remains clear. We aim to crack the code of sourdough. We strive to understand its contribution to better bread fully, how it can be controlled and perform more consistently, and how it can be used globally in baking. Regardless of where you are on this planet or your economic status, we believe that everyone should have access to better bread and the wonders of sourdough. But beyond the samples and the scientific discoveries, what truly makes this library special is the community it has built. The friendships forged through a shared passion for sourdough are invaluable. Each jar in our library tells a story of tradition, heritage, and friendship. So, as we celebrate this milestone, we thank each and every one of you for being part of this journey. Here's to a decade of safeguarding sourdough biodiversity and to many more years of discovery and camaraderie. And we want you to join the celebration. We're launching the Sourdough Contest in honor of our 10th anniversary. This is a global call for all bakers, professional and amateurs alike, to bake a loaf of sourdough bread and dedicate it to the Sourdough Library. Here's how you can participate. Bake your bread. Use your favorite sourdough starter to bake a delicious loaf of bread. Capture the beauty. Snap a picture of your masterpiece. We want to see your crust, your crumb, and the unique features of your loaf. Share your story. Post a photo on social media. Describe your bread. Tell us about the starter you use and share why your sourdough baking is so important to you. Use the hashtag, very important, use the hashtag #SourdoughDecade and tag me whenever you can so we can see your posts. Register your sourdough. Visit www.questforsourdough.com and register your sourdough starter. By doing this, you're helping us document and preserve the biodiversity of sourdough. This is more than just a competition. It's a celebration of sourdough, of baking, and of the global community that shares this passion. So fire up those ovens, dust off your aprons, and get to bake. On the 14th of November, we will announce 10 winners. In case you are one of them, you will receive a signed copy of this book. It's called Experience Sourdough, and it talks about what we are doing here in this building called the Center for Bread Flavor. We now go into the realm of science, of experimentation and discovery. This year, we began a unique experiment, one that allowed us to explore the evolution of sourdoughs stored in our library from 2013 up to 2021. For experiment, we returned a sample of each sourdough to its original owners. We then asked them to feed this sample in their environment using their local flour and water. After 15 and 30 days, we collected samples from them for comparison. The aim was to compare the original sourdough we received, the current sample we have in the library, and the current sourdough at the owner's bakery. The results are fascinating, offering a glimpse into the dynamic life of sourdough and how it evolves over time and across different environments. However, we're just peeling back the first layers of this complex study. Over the coming months, we'll delve deeper into these findings, uncovering the secrets that lie within these sourdoughs. To discuss more about this experiment, I'm thrilled to announce a special guest. Guylaine, my partner in crime, colleague from R&D, who has been instrumental in managing the scientific aspects of the sourdough library. Together, we've been navigating the intriguing world of sourdough science, and we are eager to share with you the latest insights. So, welcome, Guylaine. Finally, we have the results of this very unique experiment, never been done like this before. So, as there are many myths, many assumptions, many unclarities on how sourdoughs behave in a different environment, what can we share today with the viewers?
So, do I explain the experiment in detail, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Just guide me through what we have been doing, how we have been doing, why we are doing it, and so forth, so on.
So, our objective with this experiment 2023 was to answer three main questions. The first one, which is a question that is frequently asked by people when they visit the library, is do the sourdough kept in the library with this specific protocol remain the same as when they entered in the library? The second question was related to how the sourdough evolved in the bakery. Is there any evolution or not? And the third question was if the sourdough kept into the library evolved differently than the one from the bakery, would it be possible by refreshing this sample from the library in the bakery with the protocol of refreshment of the bakery to obtain in the end the same sourdough than the one in the bakery?
Okay. So we've sent 17 starters from the library to the owners. So what have we done with it? How did it go?
So for each of these 17 sourdoughs, we analyzed 4 different samples. The first samples is the samples coming from the library. The second sample was the sourdough currently maintained and used in the bakery. And the 2 last ones were obtained by refreshing the sourdough from the library in the bakery and after 14 days and 30 days of refreshment. Okay. And all these samples were analyzed at the University of Bolzano in Italy, and I really would like to thank them for all the work done. And they mainly analyze and characterize these samples from a microbiological point of view, so meaning they identified the lactic acid bacteria species and yeast present in these samples, and they also evaluate the population, so meaning the number of cells of yeast and bacteria in these samples. But they also characterize the biochemistry, and so here they mainly analyze the pH, the acidity, the acetic acid, the lactic acid, ethanol, and so on.
Okay, so what can we already share with the audience about these sourdoughs?
So as you said, we received the partial result quite recently. So we didn't have time to really come here with the full conclusions, but we can already share two main information related to the evolution of the samples. And we've seen that there is an evolution regarding the lactic acid bacteria composition for both sample kept in the library and sample coming from the bakery. And so to illustrate this, I took two examples, so the number 79 and number 125.
So 79 is from Josie Baker in San Francisco, and 125 is from Anita in Slovenia.
Yes. And so here for these two sourdough, you have the composition of, in the left, the sample kept coming from the library, and on the right, the sample coming from the bakery. And you can see that we find the same lactic acid bacteria
So
species.
they evolve in the same.
In the same way, exactly, yes. And the second main information is that this evolution leads to a loss of the biodiversity. And again, to illustrate this, you can see for, again, these two examples, on the right, the composition when the sourdough enter the library. Yeah. And so when I say a loss of biodiversity, I mean that there is a loss of species of lactic acid bacteria. Some disappear.
But they disappeared in the library, but they also disappeared
in the bakery
of origin.
Yeah.
So when we say that we protect biodiversity, when sourdoughs come here, we isolate the microbes, we put them in the freezer at minus 80 degrees centigrade, so they are preserved for the future.
Yes.
So that means that what we do here is correct,
Yeah.
and that it can help bakers to find back their biodiversity in case they lose it completely. We could recreate again their original sample through the sourdough library. All right.
And we can also propose them the backup. Because as you can see, the sample in the library and the sample in the bakery are the same. So it means that if the baker loses, unfortunately, his sourdough, he can ask us to send him a sample from the library.
Okay. So what's next now?
So now we need to go more into detail about the biochemical, because here we have first information about the microbiology, but it's important to see if regarding, for instance, the pH, the acidity, if there is also an evolution or not. And we should expect also more questions than answers. As you know, when we run such a study, it's usually the case. We have more questions. And so, yes, therefore, I think that we will start again new studies in the coming months and years. Okay.
And you agree that we should do an extra live stream just dedicated to the results?
Yeah.
Invite Anna, invite Kachika, invite Marco Gobetti, Raffaella to discuss further.
It would be great.
All right. Well, let's do that whenever the results come in.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Guylaine Lacasse, I thank you a lot, and I hope you join me soon with the results so we can really
as
look.
As soon as I get it, you will be aware.
All right. Thank you very much, Guylaine.
You're welcome.
See you later. So, our journey into the world of sourdough continues as we present our next feature. This one is a special treat for all bakery enthusiasts out there. Next on our agenda is a segment that is very close to our hearts. We are about to take you on a journey into the world of sustainable agriculture, especially regenerative agriculture or regenerative farming. Now, regenerative farming is a holistic approach to agriculture that seeks to rehabilitate and enhance entire ecosystem. It's a method that goes beyond sustainability, aiming not just to maintain, but to actively improve the environment. And it's an approach that we as a company firmly believe in and encourage others to adopt. And for this, we are in for an exceptional treat. Allow me to introduce a person who has seamlessly blended his passion for the environment with his talent for storytelling. He's an actor, entrepreneur, environmentalist, and the creative force behind an innovative series that is making waves across the globe. Please welcome Adrian Grenier, the founder of Earthspeed. You may know him from his role in the popular TV series Entourage, but today here's in a different capacity. Over the last decade, Adrian has become a prominent advocate for environmental issues. His latest venture, Earthspeed, is a testament to his commitment to this cause. So I'm ready to welcome Adrian. He's waiting there on the other side of the screen. And so, Adrian, welcome in this live stream. I did already some introduction for you, but how would you introduce yourself?
Right now, currently, I am an apprentice of the land. I am just in school. I'm being schooled.
All right.
Being taught something about how to take care of land. I come from New York. I'm a New Yorker, and I grew up in the concrete jungle. So this.
Oh, we lost some sound, I think. I don't know. I didn't hear that.
Can you hear me?
Now I hear you back. I know the line might be blurred or...
Can you hear me now?
I do hear you.
Okay. Well, what did you miss?
We missed you said, I grew up in a concrete jungle.
Oh, yes. And I'm glad it didn't end there. I'm glad I got out.
Okay.
I moved from New York and I moved into nature out in Texas, and I'm learning how to farm. I'm learning how to steward this land here. I'm learning about permaculture, regenerative systems, and I'm mostly learning to work with my hands and to be of service to nature.
Okay. Could you elaborate, because I announced Earthspeed, but could you elaborate a little bit on what Earthspeed really is?
Certainly. Earthspeed is a lifestyle in the cadence of nature. So it's about becoming in right relationship to the earth. Again, having grown up in New York, I was so disconnected from the natural world. And so all I thought was what was in my head, all ego, all status, all man-made. And it wasn't until I came back to the land and I grounded myself into the earth and I started to learn from the design wisdom of nature that I started to become much more at peace. My mental health and well-being was improved, and I'm learning the important skills to be sovereign, to take care of myself, to take care of my family and my community, and to grow good food and feed myself and the world.
Okay, but what was the defining moment that inspired you to start the Earthspeed project?
Well, when I was, I guess I was about 5 years ago, I realized that I was on the wrong track. I was on my way to being extremely successful with a lot of friends, but very lonely. And I realized I wanted family. I wanted community. I wanted connection. I wanted to come down off of my jet-setting lifestyle, flying around everywhere, going to all the parties, having all the fun, but was totally missing something very, very vital, very important. And so I decided to do a bit of soul searching, and I realized that the thing I was missing was right under my feet. The thing that I was missing was a family and community, nature, and that lifestyle, which is what Earthspeed is it's an invitation to cultivate intimacy with the world around you and the people, to really get to know and be less distracted. And I think it's really about grounding into life, every moment.
So, and you found it. I was at your place in Austin a month ago, more or less. I met your wife. I saw your amazing son. So you kind of, it happened. So what are some of the unexpected challenges you faced while working on Earthspeed, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think human beings have this predisposition, like we want to fit the world into a box that we can control. We want to have dominion over nature. We want to control it. So we create mechanized systems of control. So that's what monocrops are. That's what we do when we spray a bunch of glyphosate or chemicals, herbicides, pesticides. It's because we want to control nature to our will. And what I realized very quickly is I have to surrender to the natural flow of nature and get into its rhythm, as opposed to trying to impose my will. And that's the first thing I learned, is how to get out of my own ego and my own, what I want it to be. And I learned to surrender and let it tell me what it wants, so that it can be a natural flow. You look around the world and we pour a bunch of concrete and asphalt, and we build cities that just erase nature, and it just becomes one thing. It becomes just a singular thing, and all natural systems die that way. They die when it's just one element. The systems that are regenerative and continuously evolving and bountiful are very complex, full of diversity, full of complexity. So there's so much, so many elements acting in the system, that there's so much learning and evolution. And so that's what I've been doing, is creating a system that is complex and diverse, and really cultivating all of that dynamic.
Okay, so Earthspeed is about evolving our relationship to value. Can you share a specific example of how this concept has changed your own lifestyle?
Yeah, so as a permaculturist, farmer, and as an environmentalist and an investor, I'm always looking for not just ROI, return on investment. How can I make something? How can I get a return on my effort? But I'm also looking for the YBM, the yields beyond money, the yields beyond the tangible value sets, like the things that are totally intangible, like a cool summer breeze, or just the mist on your face on the beach, the smile of your son, my son. These are things that really make life rich and full of value. And so we look to cultivate those moments, not just create healthy food and organic, regenerative food production, but we also want to store value. And so value isn't just monetary, it's also water. We have rainwater catchment, where we're storing 30,000 gallons of rainwater so that we can drink the clouds. We're storing seeds so that we can save them for the next harvest or the next planting season, and we can save them for future generations. We're storing wood and milling it down into planks. We're storing all sorts of value here. And you know all about this, storing value, because you're storing it in the library. You're storing the diversity and the complexity and the value of these sourdoughs. And so when I first came across what you're doing, I got so excited, and I was like, I need a library on the land here, because we have our own libraries of seeds and water, and we're doing solar. But one day I hope to have a library as well of good sourdoughs. We've already started. We have a couple that you gave to my wife, and she's been baking.
All right. And she bakes good?
She does. She's learning. I think there's some tips she could probably use.
You know there's always the helpline. Huh?
Regardless.
There's always the helpline.
Yeah.
That's why we are here.
I watched the previous segment I watched, and I learned a lot from that.
All right.
The gentleman was talking about the consistency being very liquid, and I'm going to bring that tip to my wife.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm looking forward. Send me some pictures whenever you want to share. My next question is about how does your background in acting contribute to your environmental advocacy through Earthspeed?
Well, before I was an actor, I was a filmmaker and a storyteller, and I've always made films and documentaries. So I think it's a privilege that we have the internet so that we can share our wisdom, share our learnings, share our mistakes. And so that's one thing that I've been grateful for, is that I have a platform and I have access to people around the world and connections, so that I can start to spread the ideas that we're learning here at Earthspeed, as I know you do as well. So it's important that we share the wisdom that we're gathering for human flourishing.
Yeah. Okay. The term regenerative agriculture comes up a lot in Earthspeed. Now, could you break down what that means for those who might not know?
Yeah, so as I understand it, regenerative agriculture really is it's not about growing food, it's about growing healthy soil. So you're starting with the very fundamental building blocks of any living system, which starts in the ground, in the soil. So what happens is you learn that all the millions and trillions of microbes and all the fungus and all the bacteria that's living in the soil is the beginning of all life on any ecological system. So once you charge the ground with water, because all those microbes need water just like anything else, with water and with nitrogen and carbon and all the things that those organisms need to survive, they start to break down all of the different nutrients so that plants and trees and animals can ultimately feed off of them. So it becomes a whole closed loop system where you have microbes feeding soil, feeding plants, feeding animals, which then digest the plants and then poop onto the ground, thus feeding the microbes and the smaller organisms. So it becomes this regenerative closed loop system where you're actually building up soil, creating soil it's more plump and dynamic and has habitat. And then that actually draws in water, draws in carbon, draws in all of the stuff that would otherwise run off and empty out into the rivers and into the ocean. It stores it right there for rich, fertile soil that can create more diversity and more life.
All right. Now that we are here for the celebration of the Sourdough Library, it's a decade of Sourdough Library, but what do you think about the Sourdough Library project? Good one.
I'm a huge fan, and it feels feels like the nerdiest thing I've ever said in my life. I'm a huge fan of the sourdough library, um, but hey, it's to me, it's about health, the health and well-being of human beings and the earth. So just like soil, where you want to build the microbes, you want to build the microbes in your body. So your gut biome, you're mostly foreign bacteria helping you digest your food and process nutrients. It's not just you. You're not alone. You are actually in collaboration with trillions and trillions of gut bacteria and microbes. So using sourdough is actually just one step to better health and human flourishing. It's the same thing in the soil. It's the same thing in your gut. It's the same thing in the bread. That's why fermented food and sourdoughs and yogurts are so healthy, because they actually jumpstart that process, that those building blocks of digestion and nutrient transference.
All right. I encourage people to go and check out your YouTube channel, where you have all these videos on Earthspeed, and you have the Instagram account where people can follow you. So I would like to know that, like, what was the most memorable reaction you've received from a viewer or a follower of Earthspeed?
It's interesting. It's a very different audience than I've enjoyed from the other work I've done as an actor. But there are, I would say, the fans of Earthspeed are diehard. Like, they really get into it. They're as nerdy as me, and it's good to have good community that cares about the earth, but also wants to really get their hands dirty and get into the process and get into how you do things, how you take you take sovereignty over your life by being able to make your own bread. So you know where it comes from, so you know how healthy it is. You grow your own food, so you know that it hasn't been adulterated or hasn't been thrust with chemicals. And that way you're taking charge of your life. And for me, the audience at Earthspeed, these are people who really want to build a better future, better people, more aware. They make a better world, and I love the community.
I think I can say the same about the community who is following me. It's also a bunch of, well, if I say crazy people, it's not the right word. I'm not a native English speaker, but it's like an amazing crowd of people who do crazy things, but all to bake better bread. So I really understand. I really understand what you mean. Now, if you could have anyone in the world guest star in an episode of Earthspeed, who would it be and why?
Well, my dream already came true. I got to interview you, and that.
No. Okay. I'm looking forward to the interview, actually, but I don't think you're really honest there. I think you have someone in mind, or maybe you had already amazing people there that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, so Sadhguru is doing some great work with soil, and I'd like to interview him. Ryland from Kiss the Ground, I interviewed him. He's incredible. I don't know if you know Kiss the Ground. They do incredible work with regenerative agriculture and regenerative soil. Zach Bush is an incredible episode. He talks about sort of the evolutionary complexity of nature and how much hope there is in its ability to regenerate and to become and to renew. I encourage you to check out that episode. But we have some great interviews besides you, but still good.
Well, what I propose is that maybe we can, or you send me some links, and then when we repost this interview on our channels, we add the links into it. So I think it would be nice for everyone to see that. So I have a final question for you, Adrian. How can the viewers support the Earthspeed project?
Very simple. Just check us out at Earthspeed on Instagram, YouTube for now, and maybe soon in the theaters. I'm actually working on a documentary as well.
All right. So is there, I'm gonna finalize the interview. Is there anything else that you want to share with this audience that is watching now?
No, I'm just happy to be here, and I hope to stay in touch and continue to bake bread and live a lifestyle in the cadence of Mother Earth.
Well, I'll be in the neighborhood somewhere in February, March in the US. Maybe we should
come on down.
We should do again something.
We'll do some baking.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Adrian, thank you very much for your time. I liked your inspiring answers. Sorry, it's getting late for me. So thanks for these inspiring answers, and I hope to talk to you and see you soon. Take care. Say hi to Jordan. Say hi to Seiko. Make sure that she continues to bake bread, and send me those pictures so I can give some advice.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, Adrian. Well, wasn't that inspiring? Now, to go deeper into this particular theme, we have arranged an exclusive interview with some of the leading practitioners of regenerative farming here in Europe. These aren't just farmers, they're pioneers in a movement that aims to change how we think about agriculture and our relationship with the earth. Our guests will share their experiences and insights, providing a first-hand perspective on the challenges and rewards of regenerative agriculture. They'll discuss the practical aspects, the environmental benefits, and the impact on communities and economies. This is an opportunity to learn from those at the forefront of this movement, to understand why regenerative farming is not just a trend, but a necessity for our future. So join us as we explore this exciting and crucial aspect of sustainable living. Stay tuned, and let's together take a step towards a more sustainable future.
It is important for future generations to develop a more sustainable supply chain in bread, because we need to become more resilient to climate change related events, and we need to restore and reinforce the soils that were previously damaged by conventional agriculture practices.
On parle d'agriculture régénérative, il y a des principes assez simples comme la réduction des intrants chimiques, la refocalisation sur la santé du sol, l'augmentation de la résilience de la production agricole.
Whenever, as a farmer, you set yourself these kind of objectives of transitioning your farm, you must start from a baseline point of view, which is today your soil at the farm. And today, a reality is that most of our soils are less fertile than they used to be.
Consumers are very much aware that now is the moment to give everything we have to basically save our planet. And not just in the way we fly, in the way we drive our cars, but also in what and how we make and consume our food.
Regenerative farming gives a good microbial diversity on the soil, which transfer to the grain, to the flour, and that will transfer into the sourdough
organic matter today in the soil, which is really the cement of a farming system, has dropped by 2, 3, 4, 5% across the last 2-3 decades due to our farming practices. And the challenge of young farming generation today is to restore these levels of organic matter in their soil.
Ce qu'il faut quand même signaler, c'est que cette agriculture régénérative qui fait du sens pour l'agriculteur et pour le consommateur, c'est pas quelque chose qui se fait de manière facile parce que en fait, au niveau technique, on va demander à l'agriculteur des changements assez importants. La diminution du travail du sol, du labour, c'est quelque chose qui est compliqué. Ça entraîne des adaptations techniques, ça entraîne l'utilisation d'autres machines. Un agriculteur qui va devoir garder en permanence un sol couvert avec des plantes vivantes pour protéger le sol, c'est aussi quelque chose qui n'est pas évident techniquement.
The objective of the project is to connect with those farmers which are in transition toward regenerative agriculture and to see how this can impact the bread and its impact on the environment.
The role of food industry is first, I would say, to be able to sit on the table with the farmer and to make sure that we bring back common sense into the farming sector.
L'agriculteur doit réapprendre en essayant avec l'appui scientifique, avec l'appui d'agronomes. Et je pense que ici dans la collaboration qu'on fait avec Puratos, des industries qui comprennent ça et qui sont intéressées d'accompagner. L'agriculteur a besoin d'un support, d'un appui technique, parfois d'un appui financier.
This culture helps to improve and increase the biodiversity of the soil. When that reflects in the grain and finally in the flour, well, it might have an impact on the biodiversity of the sourdough that we will make with it. And that's what this library is all about, is preserving the biodiversity, and regenerative agriculture will definitely help increasing the biodiversity.
Better bread is a bread with more taste, a bread which is healthy, and today it's also a bread which is good for the planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of these 6 live streams. I'd like to thank all of you for staying with us. We have had thousands of viewers today over all these streams on the different platforms. I'd like to thank all my guest speakers and everyone who contributed to the success of this day. Our technical team here behind the scenes, the moderators, IT and colleagues, and of course, all these ambassadors who helped us making from this celebration an event that we will not forget very soon. Do not forget to bake and share your celebration breads to win this book. Tomorrow, we will post a reminder on Facebook and Instagram capturing the essence. We have been reaching, I don't know how many, but we will communicate that once all the data is coming in every part of the world. And we will continue to do so by resharing the content of the streams on our social media channels. If there are questions that were not answered, we will do so the coming days, weeks, or months. Stay tuned. See you soon. Thank you. Thank you. Let's step into our next decade.